Hello everyone and welcome back to my opinion. And India have beaten Sri Lanka by 302 runs and are the first team to qualify for the semi-finals. Regarding the 11s of both sides, India went with an unchanged 11 from their previous game, which I thought was the correct decision. And Sri Lanka made one change, Dushan Hemanta in for Dhananjaya De Silva. I said in my preview video that I thought the way this game would go would largely depend on how Sri Lanka applied themselves tactically, as I didn't think there was too much to think about from an Indian perspective. And with the way the game transpired, you'd think that view materialized. And straight away, I thought the best chance Sri Lanka could give them was winning the toss, batting first, setting about a 290 to 210 total realistically. And in both innings, in the first 10 overs, the ball does move around in the Wankhede stadium. And there's some purchase for the economical spinner, especially the finger spinner, throughout the middle overs. And I thought the best way for Sri Lanka to go would be to win the toss, bat first, get that kind of a total. And then you've got Chamira and Madhushankar against the Indian top order under lights. And I thought from an Indian perspective, there's two ways they could have gone about this. A few people were saying India have only batted first once before in the tournament, and that was in the previous game. If they bat first again, it'd be a good test for them. While I do understand that, I wanted Sri Lanka to get the total that I thought they could get, and then put pressure on India in the second innings with both Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli preferably dismissed. That would have tested the other players in the lineup. Had India recovered from that test, I would have thought they have covered all bases going into the knockout stage. And what did Sri Lanka do? Kusal Mendes won the toss and chose to bowl, and straight away it was game over then and there. Some people may have been satisfied that India were batting first, but this wasn't the test that I wanted. And with how easy of a win this was in the end, I just think I would have for two reasons. For Sri Lanka to compete, I would have much rather them batting first. And second of all, it would have tested India more. Because the moment India got to that kind of a score, Sri Lanka were never in the game. The moment the score went above 310, you thought that was the game done. If it wasn't done already after the toss. And yeah. Sri Lanka only had themselves to blame. I'll get into the review of the game, but I thought the moment that decision was made, the game was pretty much put to bed. The Indian openers walked out to bat, and after the first ball went for 4, Dilshan Madhushankar cleaned up Rohit Sharma with a Jaffa that took out the off stump. And I think from a Sri Lankan point of view, this was a vital breakthrough, as they had relinquished the advantage they could have claimed by making the incorrect call at the toss. And from an Indian point of view, I thought, you saw in the previous game, even though Virat Kohli didn't get runs, Rohit Sharma's 87 was a major reason why India could get to that 229 and then defend the score. So if Virat Kohli was dismissed once again this game, then you had the case where the others would have had to stay in to set a total at this venue, which I thought would have been a very good test for India. And a couple of opportunities are presented by Shubman Gill and Virat Kohli. I thought the opportunity that fell to Sri Lanka should have been taken. A more difficult chance it fell to Dushmantha Chamira, and I think he fell on his shoulder. He could still bowl after that, which is a good thing. Sri Lanka have had a problem with injuries, especially in terms of their fast bowlers and even their spinners recently. And after not playing the Asia Cup and having just returned as a replacement, you wouldn't want another injury to trouble Dushmantha Chamira, and especially with all the skills that he's got. So I was happy that he was able to bowl. But after those two opportunities weren't taken, a partnership ensued between Shubman Gill and Virat Kohli, a partnership which lasted for 189 runs and just over 29 overs. And after the early chances, these two didn't put a foot wrong. I thought the Sri Lankan fielding got progressively worse into the middle overs, especially the latter part of the middle overs. And I don't think a 6 was hit until the 170 odd mark, which showed India didn't have to break a sweat at all. These two didn't have to break a sweat at all. On Shubman Gill, 92 of 92 before he was dismissed off the bowling of Dilshan and Madhushankar. And after scoring, I think, 150 in thus far this tournament, and he wasn't out of form by any means, but it was good to see him get another big score. 92 of 92, and he looked in fantastic touch. And soon afterwards, Virat Kohli was dismissed for 88 of 94. He thought he deserved a century against New Zealand, where he shepherded the team home along with Ravindra Jadeja. And in this game, you thought, had he got a century in the previous game and he got his 50th in this game when Sachin Tendulkar was at the venue, it would have been a great thing. Had he got 49 here and then got a 50 on his birthday, it may have been even better. So I really wanted him to get a century here for his sake. Unfortunately, he was dismissed, but it doesn't take away from the fact that it was a fantastic innings. And with what I've said in my previous video and even before that, You saw when Shreyas Iyer walked out well after the power play, the first 10 overs was completed. You thought that was the situation where he'd prosper against, especially against this attack. You saw he scored a brilliant 82 off 56, and he's an attacking batsman by trade. So sending him out, especially when he's slightly frenetic against pace, and when comparing him and KL, I've said this quite a few times now, where with how still KL remains at the crease, even when facing high pace, when the ball moves around, it's a different story to Shreyas Iyer, where he doesn't quite do that. And that's why I thought if 2 wickets had fallen within the first 10 overs, KL should have walked out at 4. In this case, he didn't have to, and unsurprisingly, Shreyas Iyer, who was always going to succeed in this situation against this attack if he walked out after the 12th over or so, you saw how he did. And there was some talk that once 2 quick wickets had fallen, you thought, right, would Sri Lanka be able to restrict India somehow? But with the most secure batsman in the world walking out of 5, I didn't think that would be the case unless one of the 2 batsmen threw their wickets away. A partnership of 16 ensued between Shreyas Iyer and KL Rahul, and I wanted to see KL Rahul explode this innings simply because you saw even against Australia in the second game of the recent series, and you saw in this innings where it's not like he always looks to take things slowly when he walks out to bat. When the situation is set for him to go aggressively, he does do that. And he looked good today, 21 off 19, especially with the 2 boundaries that he scored through square leg. He was looking to take Chamira on, but it's not a case where the ball held up on the surface as much or anything. You'd be disappointed with that dismissal, and I wanted to see him do what we all know he can do and what he was looking to do today, but unfortunately it wasn't to be. And Suryakumar Yadav walked out to bat at 6. Now, I said in my previous video that considering the Sri Lankan death bowling, if he walks out to bat when the platform is set with the last 10 overs or so to go, he would have a field day. And with the way he started off, 2 firm drives down the ground, 2 crisp drives down the ground, you thought he was getting into his innings from the get-go. And with the shot that he looked to play, I thought it was a good delivery from Dilshan Madhushankar, a well-directed short ball. And I wasn't disappointed with how Suryakumar Yadav was dismissed because I thought that's a shot that we've seen him go for and execute a lot. So it took a well-directed short ball to dismiss him there. And had he not been dismissed, you saw Jadeja scored 35 of 24. India scored, I think, 81 runs in the last 8.3 overs with Shreyas Iyer and Jadeja at the crease. If Suryakumar Yadav had faced the 24 deliveries that Jadeja faced, and despite the fact that the latter played very well, you think 24 deliveries for a player like Suryakumar Yadav, India could have got to 380. So I thought Sri Lanka, it went well for them that they dismissed Suryakumar Yadav, but like I said, the moment the score crossed 310, this game was already done. And so from an Indian perspective, 3 fantastic knocks from Shubman Gill, who's got a second big score this tournament. Virat Kohli continuing his great form, and Shreyas Iyer, unsurprisingly, when he's been used correctly like he has been in this case, you saw what he can do. So a very good score from an Indian perspective, and you didn't think there was too much of a chance of Sri Lanka to chase this down. On the Sri Lankan bowling, I think this was a fairly expected bowling performance. Dilshan Madhushankar 5 for 80 and 10. The reason why it was expensive is because at times he took the wrong option. For example, in the last over that he bowled 2 hittable deliveries to Shreyas Iyer that were taken for 6s. He dismissed 5 out of the Indian top 6. Jaffer to dismiss Rohit Sharma and a good short ball to dismiss Suryakumar Yadav. He's relatively inexperienced and he's got some talent, especially with how he bowls with a new ball, which is his strength. He's always struggled with bowling at the death, so I wasn't surprised that he was expensive today. But I think he is a bright spot for them going forward. And the key is, if you're looking at the 3 seams that they've got, like I said, Madhushankar, Chamira, Kasun Rajitha, they all don't like bowling at the death. But you think Madhushankar, out of those 3, he's the one that's most likely to develop some sort of a prowess at bowling at the death. So more than what he does with a new ball, which I think he'll always be good based on the skills that he's demonstrated now. If he learns death bowling, then I'm sure, it will help the Sri Lankan cricket definitely going forward. But a good performance from him considering the wickets. Dushmantha Chamira 1 for 71 and 10. I was happy that he opened the bowling today compared to the previous game where for some reason he didn't open the bowling. Both those 2 bowled well up front, but we knew once the first 10 overs passed it would be difficult. Kasun Rajitha none for 65 and 9. Now, like I said in the previous video, if he wants him to be that middle overs enforcer, he hasn't got the game for that as of now, and he certainly hasn't got the game for bowling at the death. So as far as that third seamer went, without selecting someone who could bowl in the middle phase and at the death, the third team was always going to go for runs, and we saw that today. I don't know why Angelo Matthews only bowled 3 overs, and you saw how he went against England, and you thought during the middle overs, Angelo Matthews bowling a tight line and length here would have or could have restricted the scoring rate somewhat, or certainly with the ease at which the batsmen were going about their scoring. He only bowled 3 overs. I don't know why that was. Mahesh Theekshana, none for 67 and 10. He didn't bowl badly today, but I think it's a case where, was he going to run through this Indian side? No, he wasn't. And even though there's some purchase for the finger spinner at this venue, he didn't bowl badly today. But compared to others, even others who've gone for runs such as Madhushankar and Chamida, they bowled 25 and 28 dots respectively. However, Theekshana only bowled 18. So they found no difficulty in playing him at all. And it's none for 67 and 10 meant that the wicket-taking threat for Sri Lanka in the middle overs didn't have an impact in this game. And Dushan Hemanta, none for 52 in his 8. Now, this is a similar situation to playing Usama Mir in Bengaluru for his first World Cup game on that kind of a surface against that Australian bang up. That too, wrongly choosing to bowl first after winning the toss. Now, in terms of bowling, like I've said, the finger spinner and the economical bowler gets purchased from bowling in Mumbai. So playing Dhananjaya De Silva wouldn't have been a bad thing, would have been the correct option. What do? They drop him for some reason, bring in Dushan Hemanta when there wasn't any reason to do so. And not only have you got someone who's relatively inexperienced playing his first World Cup game, I think he's playing his second World Cup game, and that too in a surface like Mumbai, none for 52 and 8 was unsurprising. And from a batting point of view, like we saw in Pakistan's case where they played Usama Mir ahead of Shadab Khan, when you're batting second, chasing a huge total, you've not got that batting assurance at 7. So I didn't get this selection at all, and unsurprisingly he went for runs because it's a tall order for players who are relatively inexperienced in their career, that too playing in a World Cup, to bowl in services such as Mumbai and in Bangalore against bang-ups that Australia and India have got. So I thought in terms of selections and with the way that they chose to bowl first at the toss, I thought this game was put to bed even from then, and in the second innings things got even worse for them, and unfortunately with what I'd said in my previous video, they didn't quite go with that either, and you saw what happened. The Sri Lankan openers walked out to bat and right. What did I say in my previous video? You've got a case where both Nissanka and Dimuthra are technically sound, but facing Bumrah, Siraj and Shami in these conditions would be a challenge. If one of those are dismissed early, rather than sending Kusal Mendes out to Vase on the attacking side, if you send out the technically assured Angelo Matthews, it would make things slightly easier for you. Now, with how the other players went around them, would Sri Lanka have still got a decent score in the second innings? I don't think they would have, but they certainly wouldn't have been 14 for 6. What did they do? Nissanka dismissed the first ball of the innings. They send out Kusal Mendes and he scores 1 off 10. And for some reason, Angelo Matthews has got a towel on until he walks out to bat at number 6. And I'm thinking, I don't know what that's about. Sadira Samaravickrama is a class player, but we saw in the Asia Cup as well, and in this case, playing against fast bowling as good as this in these conditions, even for a player like him, would be quite tough. Both Mendes and Samaravickrama expressed fragility even in the Asia Cup game and in today's game when playing against quality fast bowling in these conditions. So why would you send them out early when you've got a player like Angelo Matthews there? It didn't make sense at all. And secondly, you've got a case where this is why I didn't get not playing Dhananjaya De Silva, because with the batting, you've got a case where you think he'd be more likely to cope in these conditions than the others. And with a ball, he would help you when playing Mumbai with his purchase with the finger spinner. Instead, you go with Dushan Hemanta in a nightmare situation where you're 3 for 4, and you're expecting him to walk out at number 7 with effectively one batsman short facing this Indian attack. And so what happened? So Sri Lanka shot themselves in the foot tactically. As for the dismissals, Dimuth Karunaratne, he's an established test match opener, and I didn't expect him to be dismissed in a fashion where the bat turned in his hand, and I think the bat hit his shoe or his pad, so it went horizontally. And delivery that he should have defended, or at least he was trying to flick it towards the mid-wicket region. I didn't expect him to be dismissed in that fashion, and Sri Lanka didn't help themselves either with who they sent out to bat. So really, I'd said in my previous video that if Angelo Matthews didn't bat at 3, if an early wicket fell, we may see similar to an Asia Cup innings. But I'd also said, would they get that low of a score with Matthews in the side? Maybe not. But in the end, they've got 55 compared to 51. So it just shows, if you don't apply yourself tactically and you've already been skittled out by this almost same attack before very recently, then you'll see what happens, what will happen, and that happened today. So I think this pretty much summed up the performance of Sri Lanka tactically. I thought they would test, I thought if they batted first and they got to 290 to 310, they would test India. I wanted them to test India. They do the complete opposite, and now you think already it was slim chances for them to qualify for the semi-finals. Now you think it's pretty much over. Looking at their net run rate, I think it is minus 1.162, so that would be the end of that. And I said after the Asia Cup loss that Sri Lanka, you'd expect them to have one or two good performances here and there, for example, in the England game. But generally, it's a side that doesn't help themselves. You saw that today against a quality attack and a quality batting lineup as well. So that would be the end of that, I guess. And as far as the Indian bowlers, Jasit Bumrah 1 for 8 in his 5. And I was happy that after Rohit Sharma didn't bowl him, because you don't want there to be a case where there's an injury precaution over Jasit Bumrah going to the knockout stage. You didn't have to bowl him after a certain point. Mohammad Siraj with 3 for 16 in the 7, and after taking a 6 throw in the Asia Cup final, once again 3 wickets I think he took before a run was scored off his bowling. So fantastic performance from him. Mohammad Shami has taken 14 wickets now in 3 innings, 5 for 18 in his 5. And like I said even before, I'll say this again, before Bumrah was back in the fold, Mohammad Shami has been the best fast bowler in the world for the last couple of years, and I'm very happy that he's got the opportunity in the side and he's going as well as he's going, and he should not be dropped. Kuldeep Yadav 9 for 3 in his 2, Jadeja 1 for 4 and 0.4. I'll be making a preview video previewing the South Africa-India game shortly. I don't know when that would be, but when that game does come around. And I think from an Indian perspective, playing at the Eden Gardens, going with 3 spinners would be the better option. They may not make that change considering the fast bowlers have done so well. But I just think playing Ravichandran Ashwin in that side alongside Jadeja and Kuldeep on a turning surface, especially if India bat first at the Eden Gardens, would be a great thing. And if they win that game, you'd think they'd go unbeaten throughout the group stage and finish first, preferably to face the 4th place side in the knockout stages. And in terms of a test that I'd want India to face, today I thought they could have faced that test where if they had to chase 310, Rohit Kohli dismissed, that would have been a very good point where the others could stand up. And now, I wouldn't necessarily want that test to happen against South Africa. I don't think South Africa will score too much, or that much at least, if they bat first. But I'd much rather India look to win that game by batting first. I thought this was the one game where the flexibility could have taken over. And because of the way Sri Lanka have capitulated, India may not be facing that test going to the knockout stage. But they faced all these situations thus far and prospered in them. So even if they don't face that situation, I'm sure they'll do well. They'll fancy their chances going to the knockout stages. So let's see how the South Africa game goes whenever that is, and I'll be making a preview for that game. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Share it with your friends. Remember, this is my opinion. What's yours?